I believe that Dynex will be the big winner in the DePIN space when it comes to quantum computing. The network is currently crushing it on the supply side as they have over 65,000 GPUs aggregated on the network today. But the thing I'm most excited about is the actual usage of the network. To date, they've already completed over 83,000 compute jobs and are moving into some massive industries, including pharmaceutical, automotive, aerospace, and the financial sector. Now, I'm going to break it all down for you in this video, but before I get started, I have to remind you, nothing in this video is financial advice. You should always do your own research. First and foremost, as I already mentioned, if you look at their Explorer, you'll see they've done a tremendous job of building up the supply side with over 65,000 GPUs aggregated on the network today. I will say we've seen a lot of these GPU aggregators pop up over the last few years in the DePIN space, but Dynex has a massive differentiator that the other projects don't have. Dynex is leveraging technology called neuromorphic computing. Using a proprietary circuit design known as the Dynex Neuromorphic chip, the network is able to run parallel operations and combine both processing and memory, which is not only far more efficient than the current computation options that are available today, but it also has far more flexibility. In other words, let's say that a hedge fund is running a financial model. Well, through Dynex, they can now do so at roughly 10 times the speed of the standard cloud compute options that are available today in a much more energy efficient way and at about half the cost of other quantum compute options that are available. But Dynex isn't just useful for financial modeling. In the medical field, pharmaceutical companies have to run models for RNA folding and protein folding when creating their drugs. Being able to run those models 10 times faster than they've been able to in the past is going to be a complete game changer in the pharmaceutical industry. And when you look at aerospace, when manufacturers are designing airplanes, they run models using something called computational fluid dynamics, or CFD, to optimize weight distribution, the size of the plane itself, and to do wing profiling. Quantum computing is going to be a huge leap forward in that process. Dynex is also able to tap into F1 racing, as aerodynamic engineers use CFD to optimize F1 race cars to increase downforce and reduce drag. And in doing so, the models do what's called a shape optimization process that reshapes the body of the vehicle itself, but also keeps the race car within regulatory limits. Now, those are just a few examples, but when you look at the quantum computing total addressable market, it's expected to see exponential growth moving forward. It's expected to hit $4.45 billion by 2030, up from $787 million back in 2022. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if those projections end up being conservative, because up until this point, there hasn't really been a cost-effective way to access quantum computing. But with Dynex, there's now a cost-effective way for entities to access this technology. And that actually brings me to another point that came up when I was speaking with their team, and that's about onboarding new users. Because again, up to this point, a lot of entities couldn't access quantum computing because they are priced out. And because of this, they don't have employees on staff that know how to leverage this technology. Well, Dynex has created a sandbox environment and have brought on staff of their own to help onboard and train up employees of these different entities, so that they can have a smooth process when being onboarded into the Dynex platform. And that brings me to how the revenue interacts with the DNX token itself. So as clients use the network, that revenue is transferred into the DNX token, giving it true utility. Now, 70% of that revenue, or those DNX tokens, actually go to the miners, or the hosts of the GPUs of the network. Roughly 20% goes to the Dynex team and their foundation to keep operations moving and to continue improving on the technology of the platform itself. And the remaining 10% go to token stakers. In other words, it kind of serves as a dividend for token holders, as they get 10% of the revenue that's coming into the project in the form of the DNX token. Now, going back to the dashboard, the network is getting pretty tremendous usage. There's been over 83,500 jobs completed, with nearly 21,000 of those completed this month alone. And obviously, October is not finished yet. But one other thing that's worth noting, though, is that clients can either choose to do one-off projects where they rent capacity as they need it for a specific project, or they can use a subscription model. Now, I would imagine that the one-offs are going to be mostly new entities that are doing a proof of concept that will then end up moving to the subscription model. And the data does support this. If you look at the dashboard, you'll see that more than 90% of the completed projects have been done through the subscription model. And it does make sense because there are certainly cost savings there, but you also then have access to a certain number of what they call gates, which is the equivalent of how much computational power you have accessible to you. And you can use it as you need it. It also provides scalability, because let's say that an entity requires more computational power. Well, they can just add more gates to their subscription at any given time. If you look at the DNX token itself, sitting at just under 33 cents, or a $31.9 million market cap. The total circulating supply is 97 million out of a max supply of 110 million. So the vast majority of the tokens are already in circulation. So you don't have to worry about a ton of dilution in the future. Now, one of the main reasons that I think the DNX token is not valued higher today is because it's not available yet on on any major US exchanges, keyword being yet, but it is available on Uniswap. All in all, I think that Dynex has massive potential moving forward because they're not only doing great with just building out the supply side with the number of GPUs that are being aggregated on their platform, but they're also driving substantial usage of the network and driving real revenue. That said, I am curious, what are your thoughts on Dynex? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your viewership. Signing off, this is Bradley Meyer with the DePIN Connection.